Over or under 5.5 wins for the Redskins next season? That's what one online sportsbook believes. We'll discuss next on Toyota Sports Talk.
From WJLA 24/7 News, this is Toyota Sports Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of Toyota Sports Talk. I'm your host, Scott Abraham. Redskins fans, the gambling world has apparently spoken. Don't bet on the Skins having a 49ers-like turnaround season next year. Washington is considered the longest of NFL long shots to win the Super Bowl next season. Bovada has the Redskins at 150-1. Yeah, that's not great. Then today, Bet Online sets the Redskins' opening win total at 5.5, tied for the lowest with the Bengals and the Dolphins. That leads us to our questions of the night. Over or under 5.5 wins next season for the Redskins? Which way are you going? Hey, if they get to 6 wins next year, that will be double from the win total last season. On the diamond, Pete Rose asked Commissioner Rob Manfred to remove his name from Major League Baseball's ineligible list, which would allow the all-time hits leader to be considered for the Hall of Fame. Rose and his lawyers argue that Manfred has recently opted not to punish players guilty of the Astros sign-stealing scandal, which, as a result, should end Rose's ban for gambling on baseball. What are your thoughts? Does Pete Rose have a legitimate point here? Should his ban be lifted with the way the league handled the players involved in the sign-stealing scandal? Give us a call, 703-387-1020. And with that said, time to welcome in Washington Post sports writer Jake Russell back on Toyota Sports Talk again. It's been a little while, my friend, so it is good to see you.
Good to see you too, buddy.
How's life?
Life is fantastic, especially now that I'm here on the show with you.
That is well said. Happy New Year. Good to see you. By the way, biggest XFL fan on the planet. We're going to get to that later in the show. But we got to talk NFL football here, Mr. Russell. The Redskins obviously going in a new direction. Let's start out with that. What have you made of all the changes, your takes on kind of the direction of this franchise right now?
I mean, it's hard to go backwards from last year. Hiring Rivera, I think, was one of the better options that they had, and they pounced on it really quick. And obviously, he seems to bring a sense of accountability and adulthood to this team in a direction that this team needed. Not to say Jay Gruden wasn't accountable or responsible for his role with the team or how he handled the players, but Rivera just seems to have a different, more structured, I guess, forward-thinking military mentality, since that's the kind of childhood he had.
Should Redskins fans, I guess, maybe be cautiously optimistic? Obviously, Bruce Allen is gone, Gruden's gone, fairly new front office, fairly new coaching staff. I would say fairly new, brand new coaching staff. I mean, how should Redskins fans kind of take this direction now?
I think that, like you said, they should take it with a grain of salt, a little bit of optimism, but not too much. Don't get carried away and say 12-4 or 11-5 or anything like that. Just hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So that way, if it's a bad season next year, it doesn't hurt you as bad. But I think they should be, back to your question from earlier, I think
5.5.
I think they'll hit the six win
You do?
mark next year. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be as bad as they were this season. And at the end of last year, you could see that the players on the roster still had a lot of fight left in them. They wanted to win the games, even though a lot of fans did not, because they wanted the number 2 pick. At least it was good from that perspective for fans to see the players showing the fight, even though they knew their season was over long ago.
So you're going 6 wins, obviously over 5.5. Is it because you believe in Dwayne Haskins, the young quarterback? You believe in Jack Del Rio on the defensive side of the ball, really making that defensive force, assuming they draft Chase Young at number 2?
I think, Del Rio is a huge factor, and I think Rivera and the culture that he's bringing in is another huge factor. I think they already have a lot of talented players, and for many reasons, it just didn't work. And I think that the position that they're in with the draft, they can either take Chase Young, which is a great fallback option if they don't trade. And if Chase Young is as good as everyone says he is, then they should get a decent bounty for that number 2 pick, depending on how far they trade back. I think they're in a good position being in that spot.
Where are you at with that? I mean, they have the number 2 pick. Do you draft a Chase Young, or do you try to get a king's ransom and move back?
They have so many holes to fill on that team. My first instinct would be to trade back and not to accept anything less than
like three first rounders.
That's what I would target, the Dolphins. I don't know if they would do that, but You know, if you're the Dolphins and you think you want Tua Tagovailoa or Justin Herbert, if you want them that bad, you're going to give me what I want for this spot, because the Redskins were fleeced a few years ago with the RG3 trade for the Rams. Obviously, they needed a quarterback, and Griffin was a good pick, but it didn't work out in the end. But they gave up an awful lot to move up to that spot, and I think they should kind of dish it back a little bit to the team that tries to move up to number 2.
Okay. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Jake, we're going to start with Billy in Romney, West Virginia. Billy, how are you?
Fine. How you doing, man?
Good, Billy. So over or under 5.5 wins for the Redskins next season?
Well, if they get a good tight end from Hunter Bryant through free agency, and get a good wide receiver through the draft, and a good free agency wide receiver through A.J. Green.
All right, Billy, thanks for the call. Appreciate you watching. Let's go right back to the phone lines. We're going to go to Lucky in Waldorf. Lucky, how are you?
I'm just fine, man. How are you?
5.5 wins, over or under? What do you think for the Redskins next season?
I think they're gonna win at least 7.
Oh, all right.
It wouldn't surprise me if they made the playoffs.
Really? Why? Where's that confidence come from with a team that had 3 wins last year?
You gotta have faith, man. They said the same thing about the Nationals last year. I told y'all they was gonna make the playoffs. Everybody thought they wasn't, and they did. You gotta have faith, man.
So, do you like the direction with the new front office, Bruce Allen gone, and the new coaching staff? Where are you at right now? Are you kind of cautiously optimistic?
I feel real good about that. The coaching change. I think he's gonna put a spark in them. You know.
All right.
He's gonna, get them straight. And then I think, I like this Haskins. I think he's gonna turn out to be a good one, because you can see he can make all the throws already. And I think he want to win. I think he want to learn. And I like that.
All right, Lucky. Appreciate your call. Appreciate you watching. We're going to get to Dan and Fairfax coming out of the break. We are just getting started on Toyota Sports Talk with my buddy Jake Russell, writer for the Washington Post. We are taking your phone calls tonight. There you see our questions of the night. 5.5 wins, over or under for the Redskins? What are you thinking? And hey, Pete Rose, I know my guy Bruce in Wheaton, he wants to weigh in on Pete Rose. I know he's all dialed in about that. 703-387-1020. It's Abe and it's Jake. Stay here on Toyota Sports Talk. All right, welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Toyota Sports Talk. Washington Post sports writer Jake Russell riding shotgun with me tonight. There you see your questions of the night. A lot of great topics tonight. And I got to give a shout out to Jake's mother, Terry, one of our biggest fans watching from the Annapolis area. Terry, thank you for watching. I'm taking very good care of your son tonight. Let's go back to the phone lines. We're going to start with Dan in Fairfax. Dan, how are you? You there, Dan? Dan in 3.
Can you hear me?
All right, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
5.5 wins. Over or under?
I'd have to say the Redskins will win 7 to 8 games this year.
All right.
It's going to be a big improvement from last year. I think Haskins, Geis, Peterson, and McLaurin are going to be key players to help us. And the draft is going to be a successful one, especially if they get Chase Young. He's a once-in-a-lifetime player. Yeah. And I'm always positive about the Redskins. I think their defense is going to be greatly improved this year, too. Thanks for taking my call.
Dan, appreciate you watching. Thank you for the comments. And I love the young core the Redskins are kind of getting in place here, especially on offense. Obviously, you have Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback. If Darius Geis can stay healthy at running back, and obviously Terry McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon, wide receivers. Tight end's an issue. Tight end's a big issue. What do you think about this young core in place, Jake?
I think more highly of the defense than I do the offense.
All right.
If I'm going to target offense, I would obviously build a framework to keep Haskins upright, protect him, And if that's my goal in the offseason, I'm trading back and drafting the best tackle available.
You think Trent's bye-bye, or do you think this could be a reclamation project with Bruce gone, team doctor gone, new regime, bring Trent back?
I think the fact that Trent hasn't shown up or talked to Ron Rivera speaks volumes at this point. I don't think he wants to come back no matter who's in charge, even though they've made all the changes that he supposedly wanted. Why
not try to shop him before the draft to get more draft picks?
They should. That should be one of their priorities in the offseason, which I think it was a mistake to not do that last year during the season. There was a report that the Browns were willing to trade a first-round pick. There's also reports that they were trying to trade a second-round pick in David Njoku, another tight end that could have helped them exponentially. I think that would be one of the priorities I would have had.
Okay. All right, back to the phone lines. Jake, we're going to go to Sundar from Alexandria. Sundar, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So what do you want to talk about tonight, Sundar?
So I'm going to talk about they are going to win more than 5.5 games this year because I know the new coach definitely going to bring the different kind of energy to the team, number one. Number two, he's going to control the locker room.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to change the players' mindset. Then number three, so he knows how to handle the young quarterback. So he had a great success with Cam Newton.
Very good point.
So definitely he's going to bring the different in our team. So definitely they are going to win like a 8. Definitely going to be 8, more than 8.
All right, Sundar, thanks for the call. Appreciate your knowledge and your passion for Redskins. 8 wins, that's a lot. Who's their crossover with the division this year? Because last year they did the NFC West. Do you know who the crossover is this year?
I believe it's the NFC South, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I know they play the Panthers at home.
Yeah. I mean, Sundar brought up a great point of the correlation with Ron Rivera working with a young Cam Newton, and here we go again with Dwayne Haskins. That can only be beneficial for both parties in a sense.
Exactly. But the thing with Ron Rivera is this offseason, he's either not sold on him or he is sold on him and trying to motivate him with all that veteran quarterback talk, saying we have X amount of veteran quarterbacks that we could choose from on our roster already or from the veteran free agent market. That either says one of two things. He's not sold on Haskins yet, or he is, and he just wants to motivate him and say, all right, you need to come in here early and stay late and act like the starting quarterback and take ownership of this team as if it's been your own all along.
So our producer, Winston, the crossovers are the NFC West and the AFC North.
That was close.
Yeah, I mean, that's not, I mean, you look at the AFC North, you're going to have Pittsburgh, you're going to have Baltimore, and then you're going to have Seattle, San Francisco. I mean, that's a big road right there.
Yeah, 8 wins is going to be tough.
That's going to be tough.
I mean, we have a whole offseason to go, free agency in the draft, but still that's going to be tough no matter what they do.
All right, I want to take another quick break here because we've talked a lot about the Redskins, and I'm going to transition over to Pete Rose coming out of the break here. I know we got Bruce, who has a lot on his mind with the Pete Rose and the whole Astros situation. So we're going to talk a little Pete Rose coming back. He obviously applied for reinstatement today, given the fact that Major League Baseball did not penalize any of those Astros players for those sign-stealing scandals. Does he have a point? Do you think Pete Rose should be considered for the Hall of Fame now? Give us a call, 703-387-1020. Jake the Snake Russell on Toyota Sports Talk. Stay with us. All right, a little baseball talk now with a sports writer from the Washington Post, Jake Russell. So, Jake, obviously you've been following along the whole sign-stealing scandal with the Astros, and now this latest from today with Pete Rose saying, hey, what about me? What do you think here? Do you think he deserves another look at maybe lifting his ban or considered for reinstatement, given the fact Rob Manfred offered 0 penalties to any of the players involved in the sign-stealing scandal?
I know this is the last thing you want to hear, but I don't have a strong opinion on it. But if I was to give an opinion, I would say there's no harm in lifting the ban for him at this point in time. He served his penalty for how many decades
30 plus years.
Yeah, so he served it that long, and like he said, there's a valid point in, even though there's a big separation in what the Astros did and what he did, there's a valid point that none of the players were punished, and that sets a bad precedent for sign stealing going forward.
Well said. All right, let's go to the phone lines. I know this guy has a big opinion. Mr. VIP, Bruce from Wheaton. How are you, Bruce?
Gentlemen, how you doing?
Go ahead.
Got an assignment for you, Mr. Russell.
Uh-oh.
I expect to see a game story Sunday in the Washington Post about our brand-new XFL football team, and I want you to write it. I don't want this league ignored, because this station has been a big advocate of the new XFL team. Pete Rose, my patience has run out on this commissioner of baseball as a fan. I think he mishandled the Houston thing from the word go. There's no way he didn't know about it before he pretended to know about it. Okay? Everybody knows that when you get people who don't know how to run a baseball team in the office of the general manager resort to this type of stuff, suspending Jeff Luhnow for a year is not the answer. You have to throw him out of baseball forever. That's point number one. And I agree with one of the recent guests, TOP's Chris Gian. You have to suspend these players for 1 week. The ones who are still on the team and the ones who are playing for other teams. Matter of the first week, you can suspend Altuve with the Astros and Marisnik with the Mets. Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame. Nobody wanted to win the game more than he did. This is long overdue. It's a different century. It's time for Pete to get in there. I don't care if they put his plaque in the boiler room in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Just put it there. This thing, was a sad chapter in the history of baseball. The Hall of Fame is supposed to tell the story of baseball. Pete Rose's admitting to baseball gambling is part of the history. Let's forgive him. I have a long time ago.
Bruce, thank you for the call. Appreciate your comments and love that you watch every night. You brought up a kind of good point when you and I were talking off camera. What about an asterisk wing in the Hall of Fame with the steroid era, sign stealing, Pete Rose? I mean, I actually didn't mind that kind of suggestion from you.
Yeah. And I see on the screen the Houston asterisk.
Yes.
That's a whole separate topic. But yeah, the idea has been floated around in sports media the last few years about, the fact that Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds are getting closer and closer each year to getting inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And so many people have problems with what they did, and rightfully so. But they also accomplished so much on the field despite that help. Why not add a wing and, like Bruce said, tell the story of baseball? Mm-hmm. Because those three, Bonds, Clemens, and Pete Rose, are a huge story of baseball. They're a huge part of the story of Major League Baseball as a whole. Why not add a wing to it and tell that story?
How serious do you think Rob Manfred is going to take this reinstatement request from Pete Rose? I see Pete Rose's point. I mean, he has a point, Jake. You can't just... Sign stealing has gone on all of baseball, but the way the Astros created this sign stealing with the technology, I mean, that was just bad. That's straight up cheating the game, and I'm shocked that none of these players, they just got a slap on the wrist, Jake.
Yeah, that was the issue, was the usage of electronics and technology to advance their performance on the field. And I've heard the theory float around about how the MLBPA has such a strong, I guess, hold on the league that they didn't want to upset them by doing that, and they weren't sure what kind of precedent they would set with other sign-stealing penalties going forward, since sign-stealing in general is so rampant throughout the whole sport.
All right, let's take another quick call. We're going to go to Bob in Springfield. Bob, what is your opinion on Pete Rose?
Pete Rose should stay where he is.
All right.
I don't believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Not when somebody was gambling on baseball and turning around and got caught gambling in his own dugout on his own team. Now, you had Art Sleeter for the NFL, a quarterback. He got caught gambling. He got barred from the NFL, and he's never played another game. So, and you've got Mickey Mantle, who just represented a casino in Atlantic City, and he got barred from baseball for life. I mean, which he didn't gamble. He didn't really do anything with him. He just put his name to him. So I think Pete Rose deserves what he got.
All right, Bob, thank you for the call. Appreciate you watching. It's an interesting kind of case study. I personally don't think anything's going to come out of this. I don't think Pete Rose is going to – I don't think the ban's going to get lifted. I think Rob Manfred's going to draw his line in the sand. Bud Selig did and everyone else before him. I can't see anything changing here with this.
Well, Rob brought up a good point about gambling casinos. You see a major shift now in pro sports leagues slowly warming up to the idea.
They're embracing it.
Yeah, of gambling. When just 5 years ago they were terrified of it, and now Vegas has a hockey team and a football team. I mean, I could see them lifting the ban for Pete Rose eventually, but with a very hard slap on the wrist saying, you know, you should have learned your lesson the first time. This is it.
All right, final thoughts here with Jake Russell next on Toyota Sports Talk. Stay with us. All right, wrapping things up here on Toyota Sports Talk. Jake Russell, this guy is also a really good author. And you updated one of your books. Kind of explain this to our viewers.
Yes, I did. I had 100 Things Nationals Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. That was published back in early 2016. And thanks to the Nationals winning the World Series, I was able to update it over the winter. And the new version will be out in stores in May. So Nats fans, if you're out there, go get yourselves a copy. And if you want a signed copy of the current edition, head to jakerussellsports.com. I'll sign it and personalize it right to you.
So can they order online, or is it just store? You have to
both. You can get it on jakerussellsports.com and on in brick and mortar stores.
Awesome. So that's a perfect kind of Mother's Day gift, Father's Day gift. I mean, right in May. So that's your hot corner right there.
Or just because it's a Tuesday.
It's just because it's Tuesday. And I want an autographed copy too.
Your wish is my command.
Thank you, Jake Russell. XFL coverage. He's going to get you covered on Saturday for the opener. Seattle and the DC Defenders. We will see you there. Jake Russell, thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching, everybody. We're going to see you for another edition of Toyota Sports Talk tomorrow night. Good night.